who it is. Today is Coldwaves. Be Drab Majesty and Male Tears, who I'm very excited about seeing. I'm quite anxious already. Um, it's always a struggle to get anywhere because Sarah and I both have chronic illnesses that flare up. Right now, she's dealing with some pretty rough uh, pain stuff, and this is on top of the general anxiety, right? So, driving to Chicago, socializing with people, that kind of thing. This is Finchy, by the way. So, right now it's morning. I'm working. Sarah is asleep. She was in pain last night and didn't get to sleep till like 4 in the morning. So, I'm working my part time job, and that also includes searching for a new job. But it'll be nice to get out. The last event I went to was Nocturna a month or two ago. Probably almost, yeah, about a month ago, which was a great time. And hopefully tonight will be also a great time. So I figured I should add a little more context. Uh, the other bands that will be there, Surskew will be there, which I'm really excited about because I like Male Tears, who I'm also very excited about, obviously because I love James and their music, but I have never had a chance to see them live. Likewise with Surskew, gonna really be wonderful to see her live. Um, Urban Heat is playing. Urban Heat is a band I really, really like, probably for a couple years now. They actually ended up getting some fame on TikTok with their Have You Ever song. I think that's the title of it. Uh, so just great like dance band. Overall, it's sort of like kind of a dark wave sort of lineup, which is why I decided to go today instead of some of the other dates. And then there's two other bands I've never heard of. One of them is Korine, or no, yeah, Korine. Uh, and they're like I don't even know. They kind of sound like a dark wave band to me. And then Carrellee, which is another artist I've never heard of. So that's always exciting to me to get to see bands I've not heard of and bands I enjoy but haven't had a chance to see. The show runs till 11, and then the after party is at uh, just a little bit down the road at G-Man Tavern. I don't know if I'm gonna go to that because it's what is it? Five, it's 6 to 11. So there's a good chance I could have a migraine at that point, right? Because of the noise. Usually it's noise that triggers it and stress. And it's going to be very stressful for me to get there. Hopefully, once I'm there and kind of settle in, it'll be a good experience. Although, of course, as much as I am excited to see friends and chat with people, the act of having random conversations with people does really stress me out and give me anxiety. So I recently, after several years of thinking about it, decided that I am autistic, which again, I don't have an official diagnosis for that. That's just based on the information I have. I feel like that's true. So social interactions are difficult. I have a lot of just social general anxiety. I worry about how I present myself, how other people understand me, if they misunderstand me, if I say something in the wrong way that comes off as rude, or sometimes my brain just freezes up, especially now with the migraines. If I start getting a migraine, I get brain fog, which makes it extremely difficult to like process information and then think of this big ass zit here. Think of uh, present information as well. So, well, there she goes. Here is cat number two in the dark, Whiskey. She is my meditation cat, which is what I'm doing right now before I have lunch because I am hella anxious. So I'll probably take some more Xanax, to be honest. But I'm trying to be in the moment rather than have my mind
in the future where the anxiety is. And so Whiskey and I are having, as soon as the candle gets lit and as soon as the meditation music comes on, she knows what's up. And she'll run over and have a seat right in my lap. But here I sit with my eyes closed on my meditation pillow with my cat, trying to ground myself and center myself, keep my mind in the moment, to do as much as I can to combat the anxiety, which will very often keep me from actually going out to an event. Hello and welcome to my closet. This time to actually pick my outfit and get ready. This is the next hurdle of going out ever, because it requires a lot of constitution to get over the anxiety. I have been popping Xanax like candy. So while I try and figure out what I'm going to wear, I just want to set the stage a little bit. Coldwaves is at Metro in Chicago, and it is always packed every time I've been. In fact, the first year I went, it was so packed that I actually had a panic attack and left, because it's just like full to capacity. I think this is what I'm going to wear. I need a bra though. But one of the things I love about Coldwaves, which, keep in mind, this is an industrial festival, not a goth festival, so the demographics are a little bit different. It's usually the last few years, the majority has been, I would say, men over 40. But based on the band lineup this time around, it might be different. Nocturna, which is also in the same building, skews a lot younger than that, and a lot more queer and gender fluid, a lot more people of color as well. So I'm interested to see what it looks like this year. And let's head over to the accessory station. So here we are. I think I basically picked out what I'm going to wear. I like to generally prefer skirts and sort of like a 90s romantic, ethereal kind of goth look. But it's, I haven't worn this specific outfit in a while, so I'll kind of talk about what I'm wearing when I get there. But I had this in my head. Choosing earrings is always the most difficult part, I think. But it's also very hot. I don't know if they don't have the air conditioning on or what, but Coldwaves is always super hot, partially just because there's so many people. It's also why I always wear a mask, because last year, I remember a few days after the event, I saw a bunch of friends on Facebook saying that they had got COVID. And thankfully I didn't get COVID, so especially in an event that's this... I mean, I always wear a mask at events, but... and I haven't gotten my COVID booster shot yet this year either. This is by Mode Brutal, Jody Creven's shop. She's a Chicago designer. So yeah, let's do some makeup, get shaved, all that shit. Now this is fairly rough because I'm already bad at makeup and I'm rushed for time now, because normally for Nocturna I don't leave until 10:30, but this starts at 7, the first band starts, doors open at 6. So I'm like way behind and I'm rushing now. So I'm going to try and get all my makeup done, do a quick little outfit thing, hopefully not fuck it up and look too silly, and then we'll get going. Well, I guess being fashionably late is pretty goth, huh? But I am late now. So I have lip service top, this is what I'm wearing, lip service pants. This, like I said, is from Mode Brutal. This is from a online shop whose name I've forgotten. I think I may have put it on wrong. I'll have to look. Purse from Killstar. Don't cancel me. And I got this, like, my wife actually got this years ago. And then an earring. My earring is from Luciferotica. So this is the fit. I'm going to head out. I'm not going to sit down and play Frostpunk or watch Ruby Gloom, as much as I feel like that would immediately alleviate my anxiety. And so I will see you in a few minutes when I park the car. I'm not really excited about driving in rush hour traffic on a Friday, but that's where we are. So here's my tip for driving. I always listen to a podcast that has nothing to do with where I'm going. So normally it's a video game podcast with hosts that are very calming and down to earth, and that sort of engages my brain. And I'm driving past O'Hare here. Engages my brain so that I'm thinking less about where I'm going. So then I can save my panic attack for when I actually park the car and have to decide to walk into the venue. But here's the transition shot to getting there. All right, I made it. I only went through one red light camera. It was rough, man. I usually, like I said, when I come to the city, it's on a weeknight or it's for a nocturna, which is late at night. And driving in rush hour fucking sucked. I did not like that at all. I am frazzled and overwhelmed, and now I have to walk into a building full of people. This is the hardest part for me, getting integrated. There's a lot of spikes of anxiety throughout the night, right? Like when I go talk to a new friend or somebody. But yeah, so I'm going to get my stuff together. A little awkward walking around with a phone. It kind of, recording, it almost feels like I'm breaking an unspoken rule. And it also draws more attention to myself, and I already feel like I stand out, although everybody's kind of looking at everybody, right? So we'll see what happens. If I don't get a ton of footage inside, I'll do some wrap up and do my best to sort of explain how the night went. So I'm going to throw on my mask, get my stuff together, get my earplugs, and head out.
see them. But yeah, nothing that really jumped out at me.
Yeah. Did you see Angela Benedict?
That was hot. Thanks to all the bands. Thanks to all the people that came out early. Thanks to everybody who's going to be with us this weekend. Coldwaves. I'm here to just remind you that we are doing auctions and raffles. We got free ticket giveaways for Front 242, KMFDM, Sisters of Mercy, TRST. Make sure you find the people with the raffles, give them a buck. We're going to announce it between SRSQ and Drab Majesty. Don't forget to tip your bartenders. Love your neighbor. Love your neighbor. Thanks for coming, everybody.
struck by the curse of chronic illness. I made it up through most of Drab Majesty's set, but it was so loud. My migraines have been bad recently, and it just kept getting worse and worse. I had to leave. Like, it was because I knew my head was pounding and throbbing. I'm going to have to sit here for a while, I think, and recover so I can actually drive home, about an hour home. Because once I get my migraines, like, I can't think, I can't move. Driving is difficult, so yeah, I probably waited longer than I should have. But I'll give you guys a recap of the show when I get back, and I can sit in the dark for a minute and collect my thoughts.
All right. Well, it's the day after now, and I wanted to talk a little about what the show was like, and then also, excuse my allergies, and then also sort of what it's like going out to an event when you have chronic illness or you have anxiety. So, as far as the bands go, the first band we walked in on was Carrellee. An artist I had never heard of before. We only caught the last half of her set. It was like a really good electronic kind of dark wave band. And it was just her on stage, and so there was a bit of a difficulty sort of owning the space. She had a lot of equipment up there. That was maybe the only critique I could find with her performance, was just stage presence. But I mean, she was energetic, dancing. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to listen to some more of her music on online for sure. After that was Male Tears, and that was a treat. It was gay, it was queer, it was so much fun. For having fun, you know, I didn't feel like they were nervous or anything. Sometimes you pick that up from artists. And they were working the crowd. This was still early in the night, and not everybody had shown up. People really came later at night, which I guess is expected. And actually, there were fewer people than I expected as well. Normally, previously I had gone on Saturdays, so it wasn't the sort of packed shoulder-to-shoulder thing that I had expected. Yeah, sorry guys, I have my allergies are killing me. But they worked the crowd like pros. It was really, really fun. I was dancing the whole time. Of course, I know their music, so that was helpful. But the stage performance was really fun. I really recommend seeing them if you get a chance. After that was Urban Heat. Urban Heat, I think, had the second best performance of the night. Not that we're ranking them, but I was really impressed. I've been a fan of Urban Heat for a long time. Probably a couple years. They had that song, I think I mentioned this, that song that blew up on TikTok, and that's how I heard about them, and I've been following them since then. Really enjoy their music. The lead singer, whose name I have forgotten now, seems just like a really genuinely kind person, like the kind of person you feel safe with, that you want to spend time with. That's why I like James so much as well, because James, the lead singer of Male Tears, he's really interested in like social justice and protecting people and that kind of thing, and similar to the Urban Heat singer. Sorry, I forgot your name. But my God, can that man put on a fucking performance. And then after the first song, he took his shirt off, and that dude is ripped. Like, holy shit, that guy is in incredible shape. And you can tell because his stage performance was nuts. Like, he worked the crowd. That was really, really fun. Like, that, I kept thinking of, like, Dusty from Vision Video, because Dusty also puts on a really good performance and really engages the crowd. This is where I started to notice there were some issues with the mixing, because he sorry, my cat is at the door. 1 second. Come on, Finchy. Come on. His vocals were kind of muddy, and from him on, I did notice there were some issues with the levels and the mixing that sort of culminated with Drab Majesty. Unfortunately, their mix was the worst. But that's live music, right? That's just what happens. No, don't touch that. So after Urban Heat was Korine, which was also a band I hadn't heard of. I think the lead singer was trans also, which I also didn't know, and that was and I'm sorry if that's not correct. I have not fact-checked any of this. But that made me feel connected as a queer person, and musically, chef's kiss. Like, it's the perfect blend of sort of like shoegaze and ethereal wave with more upbeat dark wave kind of beats. And that I loved that. Definitely going to be listening to that band some more. I don't know why I haven't heard of them before, but loved it. After them was Sursq, SRSQ. I don't think I've heard anyone say the band's name. So obviously we all know about Sursq and their history. I'm not going to talk about that. Again, I forgot the woman's name, and I'm sorry. I literally have just woken up, put on some clothes, and I was like, let's get this video done. I have a birthday party I have to go to. That was, for me, the performance of the night. If you know Sursq's music, it's very ethereal, very introspective, and transcendent. And it's just her on stage, but she had a very engaging sort of visual projection behind her that had a lot of effects and all these cool, weird kind of 90s elements that worked together to supplement her performance, which was very energetic, very floaty and dancey, and emotional. It was very, very emotional. And it's a kind of performance that I haven't seen before. And I've seen a lot of different kinds of bands live, up through hip hop, and R&B to heavy metal to whatever, alt rock, ska, punk, whatever. And so that it was very it was very artistic. It was very demure, very mindful. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but it's very art-driven, avant-garde kind of thing, and I was completely captured and taken with that performance. That was my favorite of the night. And then the last band was Drab Majesty. I was a big fan of Drab Majesty for a long time, and in the last couple of years I've kind of cooled on them, and it was fine. It was, it was okay. I don't know how anyone else experienced that show. I'd be interested to hear, because as I'll tell you in a minute, I had to leave. But they started with their hits. They had some visual elements in the background with the projector as well. And they kind of did their thing. I've seen them play before. I think this was a worse show than the one I saw them play maybe 3 years ago. But, it is what it is. Not every night is going to be the best performance of your life. And hang on.
Alright, while I was editing this video, I realized a couple things. First of all, there was no footage of Sursq, and the reason for that I forgot to mention is because she put up a projection before she started asking us not to record and to be in the moment. And so I respected that, and I didn't film anything. The second is that I'm talking about disability and chronic illness in fairly vague terms, sort of because I'm assuming everyone who's watching this has heard me talk about this on the podcast. But just to very quickly, without turning this into its own podcast, sort of give a background for the disabilities. For myself, I have migraines, chronic migraines. So this means that you have more than 16 per month and that they are debilitating. Now, I'm on various treatments and medications for this, but obviously it doesn't just make it go away. I also have ADHD. I think I mentioned I have self-diagnosed myself with autism, and I am very familiar with disability through my wife, who has a variety of diagnosed disabilities that go back for years and are severe enough to keep her from working and severely impact her life. And I don't necessarily want to go into what all of those are, because that's more of, I don't try to bring her personal life into the public, but she does have a variety of diagnosed disabilities, chronic disabilities and illnesses that we have dealt with many different specialists, doctors, and therapists, and all kinds of any really literally any kind of doctor you can name, surgeries, that kind of thing, for years. So this is a very serious and very personal topic that I'm familiar with. All right, now back to the video. Let's finish this off.
Yeah, it's that we're rushing to get ready for a party. That's why there's so many interruptions, and I'm trying to get this done quick. Okay, so Drab Majesty, I had to leave after a few songs because at that point, I think this is what I'm going to talk about, sort of to cap this video, and the through line, the underlying theme of this, sort of going out when you have anxiety, when you have chronic illness. Especially with anxiety, I think you have to try and not have any expectations of what the night is supposed to be or what's going to happen, because obviously anxiety is projecting into the future, and so you're worrying about worst case scenarios. Am I gonna get in a car crash? Is my makeup gonna look silly and someone's going to make fun of me? Am I going to do what I did when I got there, which was walk into the concert area, trip on the stairs, and fall into somebody else? These kinds of things, because that's only going to put more pressure on yourself. And then what happened during Drab Majesty was I hit a wall. I wore earplugs, which you should do even if you don't have migraines, really, to live music. You want to protect your ears. Now that I'm 37, I have tinnitus, and that is from years and years and years and years of absolutely fucking blasting music in my car and just going to concerts nonstop. And people told me, I didn't listen, and that's what I get. So, but despite that, I started getting a migraine. And when I get migraines, besides the pain, my body starts to shut down. I get very tired. I struggle to think. I get brain fog. I get confused, that kind of thing. Also, I had been up since 7 o'clock in the morning, and this is the danger for me now with weekday shows. Because, I go to Nocturna on a Saturday, and I get home at 4 in the morning or whatever, and that's fine. I hadn't had time to take a nap or anything, and I think I was just getting tired. There's nowhere to sit down. I was wearing, again, old, but not just old, it's not just old people, and I'm not even that old. I was wearing my Pikes, and I have a few different pairs of Pikes and Winkle Pickers, and they are not good for support for your body. Again, when I was younger, not a big deal. Now, standing up for a long time in those without being able to sit down, painful. Part of it is I don't exercise, I don't stretch. That I'm sure would make a big difference. But it can be, so this is the emotional part of that. So I had to leave, and I had talked with James previously of Male Tears, because he's a friend of mine. We've been talking for a long time online, and I was really excited that I had this opportunity now to get to spend time with him, to chat with him. And the bands that were playing went one after the other. There was not more than a 5-minute break in between bands, which was when I had planned to go down to the merchandise area and chat him up and hang out. But I wanted to actually spend time with him more than 5 minutes. and I wanted to see the bands. But I hit a wall, and I had to know myself. You have to know yourself. You can't push your limits, right? Because I have been pushing my limits for years now, in sort of my denial of my chronic illness and my limitations, and I was able to do that for a few years. But you get to a certain point where you will feel the effects of that, and it builds and it builds and it builds to the point where you can't ignore it anymore, and then you burn out and shut down. And that's what happened to me. So you have to be honest with your body, and then be kind to yourself, because I had this expectation going in, and failing that expectation made me feel like I was a bad person, I was a bad friend. I made a promise I can't keep, which is another thing people with chronic illness deal with, making plans with others, having to cancel them, having to modify them, and then feeling like I'm not going to have any friends. No one's going to want to spend time with me because I can't maintain these normative expectations of what it means to be a friend. And sometimes that's true, and people withdraw from you, and sometimes you just withdraw from people because you are ashamed and you feel like there's something wrong with me, I can't be a good friend. Thankfully, I'm surrounded with people who understand that sort of situation and don't put that pressure on me. But so you have to be kind to yourself. You have to be open and honest, right? I messaged James, let him know what was going on, what happened, and be honest with yourself. I also knew I had to drive home. I didn't want to have to drive home with a migraine. And remember, there will always be next time. The thing with chronic illness is it's not linear. The last time I went to Nocturna, I had many conversations with many different people. Some I knew, some I didn't. And it was a very social, fulfilling, meaningful event in that way. This time, it was a very fulfilling event in the live music aspect, which I enjoy. And unfortunately, though, I didn't really get to spend time talking with anyone. And that's part of the goth scene that I do appreciate, is the community. It is the coming together, and it is the sort of most difficult part for my anxiety, which is talking to people. But every time I do get into these situations, I meet somebody new, I have a little conversation. Even if there's little awkward bits, you have to expect the awkward bits. The awkward, like, we've run out of things to say, we're going to separate. The awkward, like, I'm having sensory processing issues and I have to ask you what you just said to me 5 times in a row because I just don't understand. You have to expect that. Despite that, it's still very fulfilling, but it's not going to happen every time. But when it doesn't happen, you can remember that it may happen again in the future, right? There will be other opportunities. You just can't give up. You have to keep pushing yourself. And that, for me, is the most difficult part, I think, because it's very easy now, especially after COVID began, to have all of your creature comforts and stay home. But then the longer you stay home, the more comfortable you get, the more difficult it is to go out into the world. So I think that's the most important thing, is just be honest with yourself, be kind with yourself, be patient, and be optimistic, and be open. And don't go into these situations with a set idea of this is how it needs to go. That's my ADHD talking, because then it will not go that way, and then it will feel like either you're a failure or the event was a failure or something like that, and you'll miss out on being grateful for and appreciating all of the good parts that happened, and you just sort of hyper focus on the painful or awkward or missed opportunities. I walked past a friend of mine on the way out. That's another thing that I regret. Somebody who's on our Discord, on Cemetery Confessions Discord, that I know that I was excited to get to see. Somebody that's on my Facebook as well was there. A friend that I hadn't had a chance to really speak with. But when I left, I walked past
a friend of mine outside, and we locked eyes. And in that moment, I wanted to say hello, to slow down and have a conversation. But I had burned out, like I had hit that wall. I was burned out. And I couldn't even provide the explanation. I was leaving with Trey. He was walking me to my car. And I couldn't even provide that explanation. But that's okay, right? We can catch up online. We can meet again in the future. So be kind to yourself. Go for the enjoyment. Go to support the scene. And if you're preparing to go somewhere, or you want to go to an event and you're really nervous about it, just know that there are other people like me going through similar situations, better and worse situations, right? It's very easy to look at the external presentation of like an extrovert and think, man, that person is having the time of their life, but you don't know. You don't know what's really going on with them. So feel that camaraderie. We're here for you. We understand. At least there are a lot of us that do. And I hope that whatever the next event you plan or you get out to is a wonderful time. All right, that's it for me.